So, this episode's gonna be about happiness and traveling the world and traveling in general, I guess, because I found a fairly interesting article by Mark Manson, the author of The Subtle Art of Giving a Fuck. And just because I'm here on his basically homepage here, like really home page, not like his article site or this blog, like the blog somehow, I do want to say chapter, but it is not a chapter. And so like it is actually like you go onto the site and this is the first thing you're gonna see. And I want to show you this because I think it is fairly interesting, and it is fairly great, to be honest, while I'm actually turning on my light because I'm not having that much time. So actually I do have a lot of time today, but I just came home and this is actually the first thing that I'm doing at this day in terms of, well, yeah, in terms of actually coming home. And this is the first thing. So yeah, this is what we're going to talk about today. And I'll see you after the intro, like the obligatory intro. Something is pretty unnecessary, I know, but yeah, let's have an intro. And let's actually go right onto his site, and there you can see it is actually a pretty neatly designed site. This is something that I can say. So hi, I'm Mark. I'm the New York Times bestselling author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, a blogger and internet entrepreneur, blah 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 blah. And there you can see, okay, he was on the New York Times and Forbes and CNN and Vice and whatsoever. And then you go on, read my articles, and then there you have an archive. Is it archive or archive, something like this? No. The thing is, then you scroll down a little bit and then you have like chapters, chapters, categories, whatever it is. And I really like the design. I really like how this page is structured because it is fairly easy to just navigate to where you want to be, which is not always the case for every site. But yeah, and there you have just, chapters or like categories like establish your personal values and then a little bit of a description, improve your emotional intelligence, foster health relationships, create a life purpose, exhibit self-discipline, understand how the world works and whatsoever. And I guess I've actually clicked understand how the world works, if I remember correctly. And then it pops up a little bit, and then you actually have all the articles that are storaged, again, somehow categorized again, that are somehow stored in this particular chapter or in this particular thing. And then I've actually taken, the 5 life lessons from 5 years of traveling the world. And I think it is an amazing article. It is not always, is not also just written, very, very interestingly. Like, okay, it is also pretty funny. I have just only kind of read the headlines and a bit of the text so that I just somehow have a clue of what is inside of the text. And yeah, now I'm sitting here and now I'm talking about it. And still, there were quite a few things that I have to say are like pretty fucking nice. I'm gonna have to turn on my light again. So yeah, 5 life lessons from 5 years of traveling the world. It seems to be a 14-minute read. It is fairly actually a long article, and you can also listen to it, which is amazing, and which gives me again just somehow even more the reason for not reading it, but only talking about it and talking about my thoughts on this particular things. Let's actually read through the headlines, because I might then remember a little bit more of what I've already been reading. The first thing is, happiness is common and human dignity is not. I don't know what dignity is, but happiness is common. Something that was like, in the first place, well, what does he mean? If it is really the case and if it is like really the truth and whatsoever. And I do just really have to say that he is actually relatively right here. And not really relatively, like he is just pretty right here. It is pretty amazing, because the thing is, happiness is really kind of common. So maybe common might not be the best word to choose, but the thing is, everyone can be happy. And something that you can see, and he explained it through just very, very poor, half-naked children and kids that are joyfully playing in dirt and with broken sticks and whatsoever. And he said, like, well, they have found happiness in what they have. And I somehow thought about it. Like I was actually reading it while I was going home and or walking home, just to use the time because I'm not having a lot of time. Afterwards, I'm gonna just head and maybe go for a run, I guess, because I do just have to make cardio or do cardio today. Yeah, it's gonna be an amazing day. Somehow amazing. The thing is, yeah, somehow, as I've been thinking about it, the more we have, the more we are also trying to get. Isn't it the case? Like, I don't know, like those children and those people, they really have nothing. They really have nothing. And they're still just really happy, and or they found happiness in dirt and broken sticks, and what does he also say? Like not having a 24-hour delivery from Domino's, they are still like happy, really happy, because maybe they just, I don't know, maybe we adapt to things so incredibly fast that we are just still happy even though we have nothing, and that we are still happy even though compared to other people we have nothing. But maybe it is like, yeah, maybe our human brains just really think relatively and or in relation to just maybe what we had before, what we had just a year ago, and whatsoever. The thing is, then it would make sense for me. Then it would just, like, it still makes sense for me. I still believe that, if you do just have nothing, of course you're gonna find happiness in something. I do not say in a lot of things, and I do not say in like just very particular things, but I guess in something, in those really small things, I believe, because you don't have more, you don't have much more than, I don't know, the sunset or the sunrise, or just knowing that you're healthy and that you're feeling good and that you can just do some sports, that you can play football or soccer or whatever it is. I think these just really small things then just make you happy because there is nothing else, because you're kinda just, yeah, you just know that you do not have a lot of things. Really interesting, this thought that he provided me there is just a really interesting one, and I would really suggest you to read through the whole article and or listen to it, apparently, because it also seems to be a thing. Just because also it is a very, 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 very well designed website. It is actually, for me at least, more fun to go through such a website or just use such a website by, basically knowing, okay, well, the quality is good. And I know also the writing part is good just because it is from Mark Manson. I assumed at least, and I still assume. But yeah, and something that he also pointed out there is, and I think I'm going to read that part, it turns out the human capacity for happiness is surprisingly flexible. This is what I meant by we adapt to things. Psychological research shows that people quickly adjust to their surroundings and are able to find joy in most situations, regardless of their culture, material wealth, or political situation. I don't know, through political situation, I actually thought about refugees. Actually, because, some of them, and I think even a lot of them, are actually leaving their country, which must be something like pretty tough, doesn't it? Like, okay, you have to fucking leave your country just because someone wants to, I don't know, kill you just because of your religion or political thoughts or whatever it is. I'm not gonna go into that deep. But first of all, that, and second of all, like, I don't know, like, when I step into someone of those shoes, is it even English? I don't know. The thing is, if I actually kind of try to emphasize a little bit, not emphasize, but if I try to actually live their life somehow or just see the world through their eyes, I somehow assume that it might just be surprisingly amazing to just wake up and you're still alive, and to wake up and you're healthy, and I don't know, wake up and you do just really have kind of this feeling of faith, and or just, that you can hope, okay, it's going to have an end pretty soon because you're just, I don't know, traveling to Europe or traveling to the States or wherever you're going. Well, I don't know. For us, okay, vacation is something incredibly nice and whatsoever. It still depends on how you think about it. But this is something different. Of course, it is something different, but I hope you understand what I mean. I hope you understand kind of the way that I'm thinking. The next section, the next part that he's actually talking about is world travel gives you greater perspective on life, but it limits your ability to commit to things. Something also relatively interesting that he said, I think I don't remember that much, but it just gave me this kind of input, that he thought like, well, these exceptional things in his country are like really exceptional. It actually turned out that a lot of countries actually have the exact same thing that his country has, but all the things that he thought like, okay, every country has that, and every country has this, and whatever, are actually not the case. Like, it really turns out that those things that he thought like, okay, they are pretty common, everyone has them, like every country, actually seems not to be the case. Very interesting for me, very, very interesting. And I thought like, well, how could I translate that into my situation? Like, what could it be for me? And I think it would also be a great quote-unquote exercise for you to also think about that. What is like pretty common in your country? Yeah, what is pretty common in your country? The thing is, like, what is common in my place is maybe definitely the water. We have just so ultimately high water kind of standards. It is amazing. Like, I don't know if I'm just going a little bit too far, but I somehow assume that we actually have one of the best waters and the best and healthiest waters that you can actually drink on a whole fucking planet. From the Alps, having the fresh water coming down from the mountains sounds great, and it also tastes great. And the thing is, I always thought like, and I knew that a lot of countries do just have some issues with water and whatsoever, but since I've read this article on the ideas.tat.com website on just the water savings from California or of California and all those things, like they actually having a pretty big issue with actually having enough water, it actually just got me to think like, well, maybe the water thing is really not that common in just places all over the world, especially like doesn't necessarily just have to affect just those poor countries or these low developed countries. As you can see, like, okay, California, the States, they are fucking highly developed and they still just have some problems with the water and whatever. Is really interesting, it really got me to think. Let's go on. You realize that humans are by and large the same, with the same needs, the same desires, and the same awful biases that pit them hopelessly against each other. I assume so as well. I've just seen that. I've just read that pretty quickly because it's just really, I don't know, stuck out to me or for me. The thing is, I really believe so. Like, we all humans are somehow the same. And the funny thing is, I've actually posted a post today for tomorrow, so I've scheduled it actually, to be quite frank, on somehow the exact same issue, quote unquote. It is not really an issue, but it is a thing. And I had a post, and you're gonna see it if you follow me on Instagram and or on Twitter and or on Facebook actually. It's gonna be the exact same post for all those platforms because, I don't know, some people like this platform, some people like that platform. But if you follow both of them, it is like, well, you just see the exact same shit. Might not be the best thing. I still just post sometimes just exclusive stuff. But yeah, maybe you should just be doing differently. I don't know. I'm not that such an expert. But the thing is, I've scheduled a post that is like you and me. And you and me basically were the same characters. It was like such an illustrated kind of figure, person, whatever it was. And it was like, as I was posting it and as I was writing the caption, I was like, well, I don't know. Like, it feels a little bit different than I thought about it, maybe. It just feels like, okay, like, yeah, we are somehow the same, and we are somehow just really, really, really identical to some degree, as, he, for example, pointed out, like, okay, we have the same desires, we want the same shit, and whatever. But then I thought, like, well, I also do just have to include that we are still individuals, because it is something that I'm just really heavily just spreading that, because I believe in that in just various kinds of forms and various situations, whatever. It's just important for me. The thing is, now I see again, like, we are just pretty similar. It is like, it is such a black and white thing, actually. It is such like, I don't know, to some degree or in some perspective, we are just heavily similar, and, throughout or through another perspective, you're like just, I don't know, just completely different. But the third one, the best part of a country or culture is also usually the worst. I haven't read that one, because it was like, okay, therefore I think I'm gonna skip that one. You can actually, as I'm going to link down this particular article as well in the description of the podcast and also of the YouTube video, you can, as I said before, go for it and or through it yourself as well. And the vast majority of the planet doesn't care what you say or do. This is a good thing. And what he was talking about there was also just, I think, like the most amazing thing from this whole article. It was like, as he was traveling, throughout his whole travel experience, he just realized that, okay, people actually do not fucking matter. Well, not matter, but they do just not fucking care about what you say, what you think, what you do. But the thing there is, the downside of that is when you're not traveling, and I do not even want to say that you should constantly travel and whatever, because you actually would have to, but I'm going to explain that a little bit further in a few seconds. The thing is, if you're at home, you're just having the exact same jobs for 10 years, you're exactly going to the same place to buy your fucking food for 10 years, if you're just doing the exact same thing for just a long period of time, then you kind of feel like, okay, if you make a mistake, people will notice. If you make a mistake, people will just remember that, just because you're living in this particular space. But, the thing is, and I don't know if you've just kind of experienced it yourself, but I think I have to some degree. But the thing is, if I'm in another country and I'm just being somehow like awkward, in terms of, okay, I just was speaking about something different while I was buying something. I was like, okay, I want to have some cheese, but actually meant like I need some, pork or something, or mice or whatever it is. And, maybe in my hometown, like in the supermarket that I maybe often go to, I'm not just buying a lot of groceries though, there it might have been just a really like devastating, no, like really not devastating, but like a thing I would have been thinking about afterwards. But, if you're in another place, if you're in another country, it is like, okay, I made a mistake and I give a fuck about that. Just because, like, yeah, they're not going to see me just, in years, maybe in months, at least in weeks. I don't know, they're just not that familiar with who I am, maybe, or with just, with who you are also. Which is very interesting. Like, it makes sense, at my point of view. And it is really like, even though it is really like so obvious, I kind of feel like it is something I have to point out, because I don't know if you realize, and through my just emphasizing, or through the emphasizing thing that I just gave to this point, you might think about it when you're on your vacation, and you might just be feeling better when you're at home as well. Just because it is like, okay, I understand that. And understanding things, I think, often is a pretty good way to fight it, or to just go against it, or whatever it is. Yeah. I think, is it 5 things? Yeah, it is actually 5 things. So therefore, this is going to be the last thing. Amazing. The more you travel, the more you lose sight of who you are, and this is also a good thing. I haven't actually read that one, but while I was walking, as I said before, I was actually like literally walking from the trainway station to my place, somehow constantly reading. Like, I don't know, the first half I was reading, and then I was like, okay, it is somehow a little bit disturbing looking at my phone constantly. And I also wanted to save some battery, just that I do not have to actually charge it to record this episode, which I'm actually doing right after getting home. But the thing is, I didn't read it, but I somehow have a strange feeling of like, yeah, it is right. It makes sense. It is like, yeah, you somehow kind of lose who you are. Maybe it's just also because you're in another place, and it feels like nobody knows you, nobody cares about you, and nobody actually gives a fuck about what you're doing. Maybe this is like just, I don't know, maybe this just really literally just gives you another personality for just a few weeks or for a week or something, to some degree. Like, I'm not saying like, okay, you're gonna be a completely different person. Maybe you are, I do not even say that this would be something bad. It might be something good as well. I don't know, it just depends on how you think about it. But the thing is, I do think we slightly change. I do just have such a strange feeling that it somehow makes sense in my mind, but I don't know. So what do you think about it? It would be amazing if you hit me up on Instagram or hit me up on Facebook or Twitter, whatever you like. I'm active on all of them. I'm gonna see it definitely. Definitely. I think Facebook not so much because I do not have Facebook on my phone, just because of storage reasons, to be honest. And I feel like, nobody even just gives a fuck about my Facebook content at the time, at least. Therefore, I'm not gonna just, I'm not gonna watch it or something. But it's just really strangely somehow makes sense for me that, you somehow lose the sight of yourself, or you somehow are going to be someone different just because you have been in in another place. So maybe actually read something, because I do just have a little bit more time there. Maybe I'm going to read the first bits of the last one. So many people embark on journeys around the world in order to find themselves. In fact, it is sort of a cliche, the type thing that sounds deep and important but doesn't actually mean anything. Whenever somebody claims they want to travel to find themselves, this is what I think they mean. They want to remove all of the major external influences from their lives, put themselves into a random and natural environment, and then see what person they turn out to be. Somehow makes sense, to be honest, but not gonna judge that. By removing their external influences, the overbearing boss at work, the nagging mother, the pressure of a few unsavory friends, they are then able to see how they actually feel about their life back home. So perhaps a better way to put it is that you don't travel to find yourself, you travel in order to get a more accurate perception of who you were back home and whether you actually like that person or not. But here's the problem, travel is yet another external influence. The person you are on the beach in Cuba is not the person you are sitting in the cubicle in the middle of butt-ass winter in Chicago. The person you are on a road trip through Eastern Europe is not the person you are at a family reunion in Toronto. The self is highly adaptable to its external environment, and ironically, the more you change your external environment, the more you lose track of who you actually are, because there's nothing solid to compare yourself against. There's still a little bit more, but I want to just keep that for you on your own. But I hope you actually liked that article. A pretty quick little session here, not that long of a thing. I would actually like to make a longer episode, but I somehow feel like, especially because my mother, I think, cooked myself food, and he also just was like, okay, please come and eat and something. Feel bad about it. I honestly feel bad about it. Especially it's like the woman that actually gave me birth. Like, even though I do just really have to say that, really have to talk about that for just a second. Even though you might not be liking your parents just because they're saying like, well, this YouTube thing that you're doing, which is the case for me, by the way, the YouTube thing you're doing doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you doing this? This is a waste of time. It is like nonsense. I love my mother anyways. Like, I love them anyway. Just because also of the reason that, like, I don't know, you can always think about your parents in a negative way and in a positive way, and they probably have some positive sides. They probably also have some negative sides, and every human being has, to some degree, some more, some less, to be honest. But the thing is, just because of the reason that your mother gave birth to you is just a reason for not completely giving a fuck about her. Like, I know there might be a lot of different situations, but I kind of feel that way. Like, it's like, I really kind of feel that way, even though, as I just initially wanted to say, there are going to be just very, very, very different situations for different people, which is okay, I guess, and which is somehow even not okay, because, like, some situations are definitely going to be fucked up for some people, and I really hope not so. I really do truly hope. And something that I've actually realized yesterday was like, I really hate to see people being sad and not feeling good, not being happy. Like, I hate that. And I hate it just by myself as well, when I get influenced by external things that make me then unhappy. I really feel like, well, even though I internally am happy, it is like this outside piece of shit just changed me. Therefore, I was like, please, I don't know. I really hope that I somehow can eliminate negativity even though negative feelings are not that unimportant, but I'm gonna talk about it in another one, I guess. But the thing is, like, yeah, I don't want to see sad people, and I really do hope that people are not consuming a lot of sad shit, like music, movies, whatever it is, because they really put you into one of these negative and just unhappy states. Eventually, it totally comes up to who you are and how you kind of just how these things fuck with you. But yeah, I really hope I can do something about that. I really hope. But yeah, I really have to thank you for staying here with me, just going through that one with me. And yeah, I really also hope that you just got something out of that. That something in here struck you, something gave you some valuable information somehow. I don't know. But yeah, I wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and also success. And also hope that you're going to remind yourself on how you're gonna be remembered. So basically, your legacy, because we totally can change it. We can totally change how people think about us, even though sometimes it is like, no matter how nice you are, no matter how generous you are, there's still going to be someone that hates you just because it is how we humans seem to be. I don't know. I really don't. But please also think about your purpose. So why are you on this planet? What are you trying to change? I think I will change, or I want to change the sadness and the negativity a lot of people have or seem to have, and at least make it maybe for 20 minutes a good day. And this is what I somehow aim for. 20 minutes or even 30 minutes, people watching this shit, feeling good about themselves, just feeling happy. I don't know, this would just be amazing. Would just really be amazing. I hopefully see you the next time. I'm gonna wait, I guess, or something. I at least hope. I really do hope. Thank you.